Thank you everyone for coming. This is a huge compliment. I'm going to do my best to make sure that you leave here with something of value that you can implement, because I personally believe that social media has the power to change your life, your personal life, your business life, like really whatever you're trying to get better at. I think social media holds the key for it. So if we can at least take one step forward today, to me, that's a win. So I'm going to try to keep it as tactical as possible. I'm going to start with kind of doing a little talking and framing the conversation and how I look at the medium to begin with, because I think that is more important than like the X's and O's. You can figure out the X's and O's. Everybody here is smart enough to figure out like how to post. You can just Google, how do I post on Facebook? And we can talk about that. But I think the bigger picture play is like why? Like why is it important, and what are we trying to accomplish? So just a little bit about me. I've been in real estate since 2012. I was in Orlando, Florida at the time, where I lived for 12 years. Moved back here, where I'm my hometown, in 2019. Just completely started over in real estate. So, when you're gone for 12 years, people just kind of forget you exist. And so I didn't have a big book of business waiting for me when I got here. And I almost never posted on social media. I wasn't on Instagram. I did very minimal on Facebook, if anything. I wasn't on YouTube, did nothing else. And so when I moved back, I was like, how am I gonna, I had 3 children. My wife became a stay-at-home mom when we moved here. I now have 4. So I'm like, I have, 4 other people depending on me to figure out how I'm gonna make this work. And so I was like, I need to let people know I'm back. And so I started posting on social media. And the reason I didn't up until that point was because I thought it was fake. I thought it was where people pretend to be something that they're not. It's too negative, and that's just not for me. Well, what I found through my journey of starting to post on social media, that I think I had some misconceptions that were holding me back. And so that I want to start with talking about that, because now I've got a real estate team, the McAfee Home Group. We started in June of 2020. We've now got 6 agents. We did 83 deals last year, and it was only my second full year as a team. And I don't mean that to brag, but social media was a big part of that, because it helped me grow my brand, and it helped people. I'm now getting referrals where people who don't even know me are referring me. There's someone in a private chat in Indianapolis. It's a private Facebook group for real estate agents only. I've been referred in there 3 times, and I don't know who these people are. They just saw the video, and they knew someone was looking to move Fort Wayne. They're like, you got to call Jake. And so that's extremely powerful. And so I think we can, whatever your version of that is, I think we can get there. Just to help me get a feel of the room, so I know how to kind of frame the conversation. How many people post once a week on social media? If you could just show. Okay. And not sharing, but actual posting original content, like a picture, a video, something like that. So it's a good chunk. How many people post every day? Okay. And I'm not trying to call anyone out. I just want to get a feel for where you guys are at in the process, and then see how I can, make it valuable. So who here thinks social media is negative? It's just a negative place where people complain. Yeah. And so what about fake? Who thinks is fake? You see people pretending to be more successful, or filters to try to make them look better, right? So here's the truth, is that social media is not negative. It's not positive. It's not anything. It's empty pipes. So human beings fill it with things that we see. So I think that is a big hurdle that most people never get over. And that was what was holding me back, was I'm not jumping into that cesspool. You know what I mean? Those people are angry. I'm not angry. I don't want to go in there. And so what I realized was that 2 things. Number 1, that was a misconception. And number 2, I think I was just focusing on negative people. So what I started doing was unfollowing people on Facebook. You can click unfollow. You're still friends. So they don't know. So it's not an insult to them. You just don't see them anymore. And so that made a big difference for me right away. That's an easy action item if you think social media is negative. Even if it's someone in your family. I have cousins who I love and I hope the best for. I don't watch what they post on social media, because I don't need to fill my day with, complaints about first world problems, to just be very blunt. So I think that's an important starting point, where social media is just empty, and it's a blank canvas for you to do with it what you will. I'm of the belief that this is the best time to be alive. I know that there's a lot of noise out there, But I mean, think about like our grandparents. How were they going to start a business, like a side business? Like nobody started side businesses back in like the 40s, 30s. You worked at a factory or you did your trade or whatever you did. And good luck trying to figure out, like, you didn't have the money for radio and TV and all that stuff. With this, you can let people know what you're doing for free. I mean, you don't even have to do paid ads if you don't want to. And we can get into TikTok and some other things like that. But it's just so powerful. And I think sometimes people are turning a blind eye to its power because they're focusing on like the worst of it. You know what I mean? And so picking the worst aspect of something to me is limiting. And so I think just maybe opening your mind to looking at it, at least attempting to look at it in a different light, can be a really good starting point. The reason it's super powerful is underpriced attention. So if you tried to get a TV spot or a radio ad, I mean, the last quote I heard to have a running ad on WoWo, it was like $20,000. Now they would keep live reading you throughout the day. And I'm not saying that there's no value to that, because there is some value to that. But for $20,000 on YouTube, I could reach 100,000 people at least. I mean, $100 gets me 5,000 views. So the goal with social media is two things. It's number one is it's underpriced attention, because what it is like, I mean, we just only 1-2 people in here are posting every day, but does everyone look at social media every day? Pretty much. Okay, so think about that. So there's more people consuming than there are posting. And so that's where the underpriced attention is. And so that's why Facebook, your organic reach went down. Let me get a little technical for a minute, but Facebook's organic reach went down because lots more people started posting, and there's only one feed. Everyone's competing for that same feed. So the more people started posting, the less reach you had. So if you posted before and 50% of the people saw it, now 20. And so that's why TikTok got so popular, because you can have no following on TikTok and you can post something and go viral. If people are reacting to it, they're going to keep pushing it out to more people. They don't care what your following is, etc. So TikTok is one of the best places for underpriced attention. And we can, again, go into that later, because there's just hardly anyone posting on TikTok and lots of people consuming it. It's still the truth with Facebook, but I feel like it's gotten more crowded. That's like the place where most people are. I would bet that most people are more comfortable in here posting on Facebook than they are on TikTok. That's probably a safe assumption. And that's why so number one, we're looking for the underpriced attention. But number two, we're still looking for the opportunity. So, I mean, think about like when a TV commercial comes on, you don't sit and like watch it, aside from the Super Bowl, you take out your phone and you start scrolling, right? And so that's why, to me, the opportunity is there now, because big companies are starting to wake up and realize that they were wasting money on TV ads. And so they're going to start shifting to Facebook. I mean, it's already happening. They're starting to shift to social media. It's still good. It's just not what it was 5 years ago. I mean, I kick myself for not, you know what I mean? But you can only start where you are. So like if you're today, you came in here, you've never posted, you've never gotten in front of the camera, you've never done anything like that, it doesn't matter, because it's still really, really good right now. I think the key is to just be patient. So what I'd like to talk about as well is, brand building. So people think brand building is like logo, slogan, color scheme. That's actually brand identity. That's how people recognize your brand, but your brand is your reputation. And so what social media allows you to do is build brand and build trust at scale, especially if everyone I've met today seems pretty friendly. So like, I'm guessing you have positive interactions with people, with coworkers, with stuff like that. You can do that at scale in your phone. I think where most people mess it up is they get confused between what is selling and what is marketing. So selling is trying to close someone. To me, modern marketing is trying to make people aware of your brand, but you're not asking for anything. And that's a subtle but very important distinction. And so what most people do, especially contractors, love you guys, but you guys love just pounding social media with buy our stuff, buy my stuff, put a new roof on. If you're a landscaper, like have us do your lawn. And that we get solicited to so much. We have billboards, ads on social media, TV ads, radio ads, shirts, wraps on cars, we just get constantly bombarded with solicitations, and it becomes white noise. And so modern marketing is to give something of value without asking for anything in return. That is how you build relationships with people. Because I think the thing to remember too is you can have I have friends who I've never met in person, and I consider them an actual friend. Like, that sounds weird, like 20 years ago, that would make you super lame. But now that's the way of the world. Like, I have people who interact with a lot of my content almost daily, and we just kind of have a running chat, and I don't know these people, men, women, younger, older, just people who, for whatever reason, we connected through that medium and we enjoy each other's company. And so I think going at it, I think people almost change who they're trying to be when it comes to social media, because now the camera's on, so it's like, hi, and it's like right there you lost me, because I already know you're putting on a show. I think you can make a big impact on somebody just by being yourself, even if the video's terrible. So Gary Vaynerchuk, he's a guy that I follow, basically a self-made guy, immigrant, grew up super poor, and now he runs one of the biggest marketing companies in the nation, Gary Vee, if you've heard of him. He is the one that put me onto this line of thinking and really opened my eyes. He wrote a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook, and what it's basically saying is give, and then ask. Give, and then ask. So an example of that is every Monday, I do a Monday market update where I talk about how many active listings are on the market, how many pending listings are on the market, how many price reductions, and just pick a random topic. I try to keep it super quick because that's pretty dry, talking about numbers. It's not super exciting stuff. But if you're looking to buy or sell, that's extremely important information. But I don't end it with a solicitation. So I don't say, and remember, if you're looking to buy or sell, call me. It's just, here's a market update. Have a great day. See ya. And I do it every Monday. I did it. I was holding my newborn baby in the hospital and I did one. So, but it was it was just giving. And then when I have something to offer, you've already curated enough attention where people are okay with it. They don't feel like you're selfish. They feel like, hey, this guy's giving me so much value. I am open to hearing what he has to say. They don't consciously think that, but that's the way their actions go. For example, today, I don't have a class. I don't have anything to sell any of you guys. What I'm going to do is I'm hoping that, number one, I can meet some people today. That would be very nice. Number two, I'm recording this. I'm going to chop it up and make YouTube videos and then short posts out of it, short segments. But I didn't ask for anything, but there's a really good chance today that I might form a relationship with someone today. You know what I mean? And so again, if it changes a relationship, if I gave you a little teaser advice, and then at the end I had a class to sell. If you want the good stuff, you got to sign up. To me, that's an ask. That's a solicitation. And so once you can separate those two things, then you're kind of you've already realized that social media is not negative. It's what I make it. And I'm not going to try to sell to people all the time. You're going to be light years ahead of people in social media. The truth is that I don't feel like I'm that great at it. I just feel like I'm coming at it such a different angle that it's resonating with people in a different way. Another mistake I see is, being yourself. I think sometimes when the camera's on, people get nervous. Even people I know who are super gregarious, love attention, love to hold court in the office, that type of thing. But when the camera comes on, it's and they clam up and get nervous. And listen, I did the same thing when I first started. Now I've just done it so many times that it doesn't even register. But at first I was very nervous too, so I don't want to sound judgmental, but I think the point is they're putting pressure on themselves to be something. And the goal should not be to be something. The goal is to just be who you are, talk the way you talk, use the slang that you use, do anything, dress the way you want to dress, because the truth is you can't be everything to everyone. And what you're trying to do is just showcase who you are for whatever that purpose is. If you want to make more friends, be yourself. If you want to grow your business, be yourself. If you love gardening, talk about gardening. I tell people that all the time. Don't do the thing that's just trendy. I remember I was at a class like this or something, and they were like, everybody likes dogs. And so everyone in the whole company was like dogging it up. Just everything was dogs, dog, 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 dog. And I'm like, that to me isn't it, because people can see right through that. And so I think the key is to talk about the thing you like, and you will attract people. Even if you're trying to sell something, talk about the things that you like and You talk about things you don't know, you're going to make yourself look silly. And if you don't talk about what you like, you're going to burn out. Like, I love social media. I love marketing. I could talk about this. I badger my wife with this stuff all the time. I feel bad for her. So I enjoy this. And so here I am talking about it. So I think that's the key, is like, find what you like and it'll start to resonate. I think having proper expectations is key. As we talked about, the feed is crowded, and they typically show people, like, if you have a big following and things that you post get a lot of engagement, the algorithm is going to push that out to more people. So if you've been on social media for years and you haven't posted, they're not going to show anyone anything when you start. So be okay with that. Like, don't get hung up in the likes. That's something I talk about with my team all the time. Michael on my team, he's awesome, super aggressive, great guy. I give him a hard time. I hope he's not watching this, but he's a great dude. And so when he was new, he would sometimes change. He's like, well, when I do this, I don't get as many likes. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, we're not in the like game. We're in the authenticity game. And what'll happen is, it's really, really hard to be fake consistently for a long period of time. And so, number one, it's exhausting. And number two, it's just not sustainable. So if you're authentic day after day after day, all of a sudden people start trusting you, because they're like, all right, this is like, I went like a year and a half, 2 years without missing a market update, and I didn't ask them for anything. So like, that really builds trust. Where at the first, I remember I would joke, I would have like 13 views, 9 views. It would be my mom, who always told me I looked tired. I'm like, Mom, I got 4 kids. I am tired. And like, a couple people, maybe a couple agents, something like that. And I would require the team to watch it. So of those 13 views, I was getting like 6. Well, now with no paid marketing, sometimes I'll get it 60, 70, 80, depending on the day, depending on the market. If something happens, then I get more views. And if it stays steady, not as much. But the point is that I have gotten business because I have a property under contract right now. And the guy said he called me because he'd been watching my updates for a year. His agent did a terrible job for the second time. And he was like, that's it. Like, I'm done. He's like, I know you're plugged in. And I didn't even really have to sell him. Like, the business was mine. I just had to go quote the price and go from there. And so, like, knowing that something might lead to business is different than trying to ask for business. Those are two different things. Like, I know the market update gets me business, but that doesn't make me disingenuous. I'm still giving you free information and I'm asking for nothing. I'm just intuitive enough to know that, like, this could come back around at some point. It's kind of like just being nice to everyone you meet. That's going to come back around you. So approaching it like that, I think, is something big. The last thing, and then I want to open it up for questions, but I think the key is to not try to be perfect. It's so hard to do because it's so weird talking to the camera at first. Like, now I'm used to it, but at first I felt like a psychopath. Like, I'd be in my office, like, talking to a screen and no one's there. And I was really, when I first started doing the market updates, the very first one I did, it was the day that the governor shut down for COVID. Like, when he announced it, and my phone is blowing up, and my client's like, well, what's happening? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do an update and just let everybody know what's going on. I remember I had the camera like way across the room. I was so tiny, and I was like, really, I looked like I was being held hostage. I was like, the governor has shut down. So awkward. Like, when On This Day shows it to me, from 3 years ago, I'm like, oh God. Like, so it's still just like, ugh. But the point is that it doesn't matter. Because number one, no matter how bad it is, it's in and out of the algorithm so fast. And number two, most people aren't going to see it anyways. It's not going to show it to enough people to do any damage to you. So your first videos, I would say your first like 50 posts, don't even count those as anything. Don't worry about the metrics. Just keep doing it. It's kind of like your first, like, if you haven't worked out in a long time and you go for a run, it's horrendous. Like, you're wheezing, like, you feel terrible. That's the same thing with posting, is like, it's not going to go well. And no one's going to care. So that's actually should be kind of a relief. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like the whole world's watching this one post and they're like, look, her hair's messed up. Like, look at that. Like, nobody's going to say that. And if they do, you don't need them in your life anyways. So So I think not being perfect, an example of this is I bought a tripod, just so you know that I was a hypocrite myself. I bought a tripod, a whole rig, everything in 2017, and I didn't do my first video until that market update when the governor shut everything down. That was the first time I got in front of the camera. So I had the equipment for 3 years and did nothing with it. Conversely, my wife, which is what prompted me to do it, she became a stay-at-home mom. We bought a fixer-upper. We just moved across the country. So I'm like, let's slow down on the reno till we get some cash flow. And so she started doing DIY, and she started recording it. Her phone was a 3-year-old model, so it was old, busted, it was cracked. She'd have kids hanging on her in the videos, like fussing, whining, crying. She added 20,000 followers on Instagram in her first year. In 1 year, 20,000 followers. She would just set it up, do her DIY, talk about what she did. That was it. And just did that over and over and over, and slowly renovated our house. And, obviously she has talent. So, talent is a factor, but I think the biggest key is to just do it. And again, her phone was a 3-year-old, like, what is this, the 14 or whatever? So that means she had like an 11, or at the time it was probably like an 11. She had like a 7 or an 8. Like, it was an antiquated old phone that had bad grainy video and was cracked. And she added 20,000 followers. So the point that's the market saying that we don't care how perfect your video is. We care about, like, what's your intent? What are you really deep down trying to do? And number 2, how good is it? So, and good can mean informative. If you're bringing information, it can be entertaining. I think that's it. Yeah, informative or entertaining. So if you're going to be one of those things, you're going to get, eventually you'll get interest. And so no matter what it is, no matter what, like if you like the show Alf, if you remember that show from way back in the day, Alf, if you started talking about Alf right now, you'd probably get someone who would comment and be like, oh my God, I used to love that show. Or like, how weird was that alien lived with those guys? So I think that's the key, is just being authentic and then going from there. Does anyone have any questions about any of that? I've been talking for a while, so any like strategy questions or yeah.
So you mentioned you're doing your videos, you don't have anything like to sell. Mm-hmm. So how do people know it's you? Like, you put like at the beginning of the video, like, his name is Jake, right? Mm-hmm. This is Jake, or how do people know like who you are and what you do? Yeah.
So that is where the consistency comes in. So, you can say it. I've actually tried to get the team off of saying, hey, this is Jake McAfee, or, hey, this is Michael Wiss, because when people are scrolling, they're making snap decisions. And if you have like a 5-second intro, then you're asking people to hang in there for 5 seconds just to see what you're even up to. So that's actually a good example. So my market update, I used to have this, like, I thought it was awesome, this intro. It was like black and white, and it had like a newsy, it was like me walking downtown all serious. And it had like newsy music. It was like, dun, 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 dun. And then it would cut to me, and I would say, hey, this is Jake McAfee with the Monday market update. So by then you're already like 11 seconds in. That's a pretty big ask of someone to hang in there just to see what you're going to talk about. So now I just have my phone, and I used to have like captions for everything I was talking about, all the numbers that would pop up. Now I just set up my phone, and I'll just say, we have 411 active listings in Allen County. That was actually the same as last week. That was really what I talked about this week, what I just said right there. And I just go rip through it, and then I'm done, and the views have gone up. So I think people will figure out who you are, because you're not going to close them off one. The idea is not to close anyone off of, unless it's a post where there's like, click this link, we'll give you a quote, like the right hook. We talk about jab, 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 right hook. The right hook is where you can do a full curated click here. We'll give you an estimate. We'll do whatever you're trying to do. The solicitation, you can capture their info. But to me, the marketing is about the brand building. So if you're just giving information, it doesn't really matter. If you gave them something valuable, they'll probably follow you. Or if they're on Facebook, they'll probably watch the next one. Like what do you do for a living?
Work for a builder.
Okay, you're the Horn. Okay, yeah, so content galore. You just opened Marcella out north. There you go. Hey, just letting you know, like, you could do it right now. Hey, just letting you know, we just opened Marcella out north. If you got any questions, let me know. Something like that. Like, there's really, builders have so much. I'm trying desperately to land one, because once we get one, there's going to be so much content. You can go out pouring a slab. Hey, what is a slab? Like, why is it important? And it doesn't even have to be like call me for your free quote. It can just be like, so that way if somebody is going to build, that's the type of thing, getting a little technical again on YouTube. YouTube is about intent. So someone's typing in what they want and then videos are popping up. Where Facebook, you have to just hope that you get in front of someone who cares about it that day, and you may or may not. But with YouTube, if someone's like looking to build a house and you've got why is the slab important? Things to know about framing. And these can be really quick videos, but that if someone's looking to build a house, that would be really important. And if you just walked them through if they're a nervous first-time buyer, they have no idea what to expect. They read terrible reviews about the other guy online and they're like, oh, I don't want to get ripped off. And then you've got a whole video series about here's how to interview builders. Here's how to negotiate with builders. Like you're coaching them on how to negotiate with you. That doesn't matter. You're giving them something of value and you'll have built trust with them where they'll watch the whole thing and then they'll reach out to you. I just had a guy, he reached out to me 2 weeks ago on YouTube. He watched a 2-year-old video of me at Sweetwater and we were real silly in that video. That was not my most professional video, but it was fun. We were just, yucking it up with the team. He reached out to me after that. He's like, all right, I'm gonna try this again. You're the 4th agent I've reached out to. No one's called me. I called him first thing, and then I saw that Saturday night. I called him Sunday morning, and just got him under contract on Friday. So that was a Sweetwater video of me like sliding down the slide and like doing whatever the skee ball or whatever that is. Like I didn't even talk about real estate in that. So I think that's the key is like it's more important. With sales, you can have a sales process. We cold call. I'm not anti-sales. That's an important distinction. I cold call every morning from 8 to 10 a.m. I think I made 39 phone calls yesterday and 21 this morning. So I'm already like at almost 60 calls in. So I'm very pro sales, but that's where my selling is. With social media, I've got a YouTube page called Jake in Fort Wayne. I don't even say I'm a real estate agent in it. Some of the older ones do, but I've shifted off that and I've created a separate real estate page. I just do random stuff. I interviewed Tom Didier and Jason Arp about their run for mayor. I went to the city address downtown, recorded it. I recapped what the mayor talked about. I've got a podcast where we talk about things in Fort Wayne with different business owners. And in none of those do I talk about real estate. But here I am today. You see what I'm saying? So it's not about like, trying to capture. It's just, if you just keep providing value, you'll just start to slowly spread. And then when the person who is like, think about like a mailer, like mailers get thrown in the garbage every single time until the day they're ready to buy and your mailer's right there. That's what social media is. So like you've been providing free value with them for years. And then now they're ready to buy a new home. Boom. They already know who you are. They already know you're legit and they already know what you bring to the table. So when you meet, it's like, most of the work is already kind of done, so, but that was a good question. That was a long answer, wasn't it? Sorry, did you have a question?
As far as etiquette with like Facebook and stuff, is it proper to follow your customers now?
Oh yeah, I do. I follow everybody. Okay. Because I think, I'm the type that I think you just do it and be yourself, and like the phrase, your vibe will attract your tribe. I think it'll just happen, and I think if them seeing you on social media costs you a sale, there's 2 things at play. Either 1, they weren't meant to be for you anyways, or number 2, maybe you need to reevaluate what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Are you not providing value? Do you hate Trump or Biden? And do you feel the need to talk about that all the time? And I'm not judging you if you do, I don't know. I didn't, you know what I mean? I don't want to like step on toes, but no one really wants to see that. And so aside from, a small, like I know someone in Florida, she's very political, talks about politics all the time and crushes, but she's got a little, like, that's like her niche, like her niche are people who respond to that, and so it's not all bad. But my thing is, connect with everyone you can, because you never know, like, if you're a Cubs fan and you talk about the Cubs and you just love it and you love updates on Cubs and they just made a trade and you think this trade is good, you think this one we overpaid, and the person that your client that you're trying to woo, like they've got everybody coming at them, but maybe they're a massive Cubs fan. And all of a sudden they see your Cubs posts that are just authentically talking about the Cubs. It's not like, here's the Cubs, but here's my product. It's just, here, I love talking about this. Well, that could be the thing that lands you a client. yeah, like number one, it humanizes you because you're talking about something you genuinely like. But number two, that could be the thing that actually gets their attention, you know? And so that's why I just talk about what you like and know. And then, you know, we can go way deeper on that and like stuff I've you know, strategies that I'm trying to implement. But I think if you start trying to get too strategic early on, it can become so overwhelming where you're like, I don't even know where to start.
Right.
And so I think an easy thing, and that Gary Vee guy that I mentioned talks about it. He talks about document, don't create. And that's like the easiest thing you can do is document what you're doing. Talk about what you're doing. If you're in HR, you know, talk about, hey, you know, you don't want to say, hey, we just fired this person. She was terrible. It's more like, you know, like if you have an old story, you can talk about, hey, you know, something that people don't realize is, you know, the way you dress at your first interview. People overlook that, but you can still, you know, whatever it is. And talk about, there's days, I'll get followers on Facebook or Instagram. I'll go on Facebook and I'll say, hey, I'm going to vlog my day. I'm just going to talk about my day. And I'll take my phone out and I'm like, hey, it's 8 a.m. at the office, about to hop on the phone, see if we can find somebody to help. And I'll hang out and I'll stop. And then when we're done, I'm like, all right, got my one-on-one with Stacy today. She's an agent on my team. We're going to go through her productivity, blah, blah. And I just do it. All right, heading to a listing appointment. You know, I don't say where it is because I'm not letting anybody know what's out there. But, I get great engagement off that because, you know, I feel lucky that, you know, people think real estate is cool. And so we lean into that and we kind of let them along for the ride. That's like the easiest content you can do, you know? And so I think if you're talking about what you like and know, you want to be connected to as many people as possible because you never know who's going to be who. In the same way that I said I have Instagram friends that I've never met, like you don't know who's out there who could be a great friend of yours that you just haven't met yet, you know? So I would say connect with everyone you can.
Okay.
So any other questions? Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about interacting with posts of people that you follow? So like I probably mentioned before, we occasionally will post, let's say, you know, for an event or something that's happened. We want to generate as much interest as possible, get it to all of our members. A lot of people think that just because it's on social media, like that makes it magic and it goes to everybody.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. So, you know, and I know you said let's not look at the likes and stuff, but as far as when we put something out there, we kind of gauge to see members are liking it, and then that will gain traction for it. And I want to better understand it, and I don't know if anybody else has websites that are, you know, pages that they want to maybe improve that traffic. Just give us some tips.
Yeah. I think for starters, this will be kind of a two-part. I think number one is what we talked about, like building the credibility first, you know, because if you guys have a website you want to promote, go get a big audience by being authentic. And then from there, they'll just filter into your website. Like it's called top of funnel. So what you're doing is you're connecting with as many people as possible who are now aware of you and are curious what you're up to. And then the deeper they get on your content, which is why when you were like, how do I let them know it's me? They'll naturally filter down, you know, because it used to be creepy. Now it's like, it's just how I like, if I'm going to hire someone, I'll just go straight to their social media and go all the way down the rabbit hole. Cause I want to see like, who am I bringing on board? But I think back to that, yeah, I mean, I think calls to action. So asking people to share it, asking people to comment on it. The more you engage, it's kind of like if everyone posted and then just bounced, it would be nothing but a giant billboard session. So social media rewards you for engaging. So if you're commenting and you're liking things, they're gonna show your post more, because it's, again, like what they don't want is for you to post and go, and they want it to be like an online community, almost like now, you know, the metaverse is kind of like the phrase you're hearing thrown around, where it's virtual reality. So I think, you know, it's kind of a two-parter where it's like, I think calls to action to ask people to share and understanding the importance of it, because like you said, if they're only showing it if it's a business page, business pages are there to run ads. That's another takeaway. Business pages are there to run ads. The organic reach for them is terrible. So if you have 1,000 followers and you post on your business page, maybe 100 people will see it. They want you to pay for that feed. You have to buy your way into the feed, and that's okay. It's just the business. So I think if you're trying to get more engagement, the two things I would do would be to try to post more in general, you know, because we talked about giving, and then asking. And then number two, I think just, you know, us making a collaborative effort to try to share, comment, post, in the same way that, you know, like a human interaction is back and forth. Like if you're at a mixer at the office, it's a back and forth. You're talking to people. Social media is the same thing. People treat it differently, but it's the same thing. You're communicating with other human beings via this screen instead of just your mouth and eyes. There's just one more buffer between the two of you, but it's really the same thing. So if you're approaching it with what you want, and that's not what I'm saying with this, so don't take that the wrong way. But like if you're only approaching it with what you want, people are gonna feel that. Kind of like, you know, people who are like serial networkers and you know they're only there to see like, can they size you up? Like, are you useful to me? Nah, next person. You know?
Like looking over your head.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so when you go to some of those and you all know what I'm talking about. Like you probably pictured someone when I said that. So, and I think it's the same thing on social media where people treat social media like it's something special and different. And all it is, like, humans are constantly communicating. The clothes you wear is communicating. The car you drive is communicating. Like the words you say, the faces you make, where you choose to sit, like you're constantly communicating, and this is no different. It's the same thing. I think we just come at it from a different angle because of either what we see other people doing. And just because there's a lot of people doing it wrong doesn't mean that the whole system is wrong. It just means that those people aren't doing it. And I say wrong, I mean, you know what I mean. I'm not saying like they stink. It's more like it's not effective. It's not an effective way to communicate with others, in the same way that there's people who like have a problem and blow up at the office. Well, they're not communicating effectively. So I think focusing on just how you communicate with people, you know. But yeah, so back to the shares, I think that would be something, you know, maybe multiple posts and then calls to action, you know what I mean? Like, you know, please share this, etc. And
So basically just giving them that ask, not asking for business or something.
yeah,
Just-
well, it's still an
just
ask.
remember to-
And asks aren't bad. I want to back up. Asks aren't bad. I mean, I ask for stuff all the time on social media, but I try to temper it with lots of gives. So that way it's a back and forth where I'm asking for something, but I'm trying to provide value. In the same way that if you like carpooled with your kids and you were always picking up their kids every single day and you never ever had anyone pick up yours, you'd start to be like, this doesn't feel very good. You know, like we should be taking turns here. And it's the same thing with social media where it's like, if you're only asking, and again, like contractors are the worst. They just are, you know, they just hammer it with solicitations and people just start to tune it out because it's like, if you're not into it, then, you know, like what we were talking about with like the person you were trying to connect with, like a client, they might not be ready. They may love the current vendor that they have and they're just not ready for your message. It's not a reflection on you. They're just not ready. And so the only way you can get through to them is through another angle. And that's where, to me, talking about what you like and what you know could eventually form a relationship that may or may not pan out. Like I joke all the time in our cold calling, I'm like, we take no for an answer. Like when we're not Wolf of Wall Street, I don't run any ads about you should buy, not rent. If people want to rent, I don't care. I'm not a financial planner. I don't care. So, but what I'm looking for is people who do want to buy or do want to sell. I don't have to convince them to do that. But I get in their world by just talking about what I like and know. And then when the day comes and they're ready, they hit me up. You know, like the guy that I said is under contract because of the market updates. I grew up with him. We played Little League together. He's got a relative in the industry. We've been connected on Facebook for I don't even know how long, years. And he's never liked anything, never commented anything. He was just out there in the ether. And I had kind of forgotten about him because I hadn't seen him since we were young. And all of a sudden he sends me a message and was like, hey, I need to sell a house. Sold it. And now I got a second one under contract. So that was all this year. So you just never know when it's going to come. So that's why I was saying don't get hung up on the likes and stuff like that, because people still see it. You know, like people listen to my podcast and they'll be like, man, I love the podcast you did. I did one when COVID first hit and it was back to school time. I interviewed a pediatrician, like, is this safe for our kids? That guy, that kind of took the pod up another level where I got way more viewers and listeners than I ever had. But not that many likes and comments. And then I'd go to like the golf course or something and I'd see guys and people I didn't even know. They're like, man, I love that pod. I was so freaked out about my kids. You made me feel better. I actually listened to it twice. And I'm like, can you like it? Can you do something? Can you throw me a bone here?
Right.
But the point is that those people are out there even if you don't see it. So like brand building is hard. I remember when I was at a talk like this and someone was talking about social media and I was like, well, how many leads do you close per video that he posts? And he was like, well, that's not what we're tracking. And I was like, well, that's dumb. And then, cause I didn't get it back then, I was thinking like, you do this, you get this, where like brand and reputation is hard to quantify. Like you can't quantify a good reputation. It just is there and you get the benefits of it, but you can't put it on like a spreadsheet. And so to me, like the focus should be brand building, and just know it's like the thing as I say is like, how long can you hold your breath? You know, can you hold your breath for 3 years without asking for anything? You're really going to grow your brand, because people, again, now that's assuming that you're like talking about something that people want to talk about, et cetera. But, you know, if the longer you can hold your breath, the better results you're going to get for your brand. So did I answer your question? Okay, good.
What platforms are you currently?
Yeah, good one. So I am on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I have shifted my ad spend from Facebook to YouTube. Reason being what we talked about earlier was if I felt like, even though I was getting good brand awareness, I felt like my videos are kind of long. Like this one's going to be real long of me just talking. So that you have to be seeking social media info out to even watch this video. So with YouTube, it's connected to Google, and people will type in something like social media help. You know, how do I grow my social media? Well, I want this video to pop up. Where if I'm posting like a 40-minute video on Facebook, it's very unlikely that someone's going to be scrolling through and stop and sit for 40 minutes and watch. So I've kind of backed off my ad spend. I still post on there almost every day. Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, Instagram, I was a little slower to the party because my old mentality, I was like, another social media? Like, I don't want another one. You know, that's just more of like all the stuff I didn't like. But what I've found is these platforms operate differently. An example I gave one time was, you know, a Ferrari and a tractor are both vehicles. They both have 4 wheels. They both have an engine and a steering wheel. You operate them completely differently. So it's the same thing. A mistake I see people make. I was actually on a panel and this guy said this. He's like, well, I post on Facebook because the videos don't do as well on, you know, LinkedIn, Instagram, blah, blah. But he was just posting one video across all platforms, and that's better than nothing. But that's not utilizing the tool the way it's meant to be. That's like saying like a hammer doesn't work because you're trying to screw in a screw with it. Like you have to use each platform in the way that it's meant to function. And those are all very different. But those are my big 3. I think a miss of mine or an opportunity that I'm just choosing to leave on the table is TikTok. TikTok is massive. So TikTok has kind of changed. It changed Instagram. And the reason it's important is, again, the virality, where it's based on the interest graph. So if people are interested in what you're doing, they're going to show it to a ton of people. So like I said, if you start posting on Facebook, no matter how many friends you have, if you haven't posted, very few people are going to see it. Where TikTok, if it gets hot and people like it, they just want people looking. They don't care who it is. They don't care about your follower count. They care about, is this video something that, because really people are like, you know, oh, social media is out there to get us. They're trying to get us addicted. No, they don't. All they care about is they just want you looking. And so they don't create the product. They don't create the videos. Humans do. So their algorithm is just sifting through, trying to find like what video that someone did are people responding to. Because even if you don't like it, they notice if you stop and hover on it and watch the whole thing. If you don't like it, you don't comment anything, and you signal to them you like it. So number one, they're going to show you more videos like that. So if it's like mine is golf. If I pull up Instagram, just golf, clubs, swings, comedy, like golf. And so I've looked at enough where I created that algorithm. So really social media is showing you what you want to see. So those are the big 3, but yeah, and TikTok is an opportunity that I've done a few. If I'm being honest, I just really don't enjoy it. Like I really don't enjoy TikTok. And so I've just decided to go heavier on YouTube at the expense of some opportunity. I've consciously made that decision. However, I have the team. There's a couple people that are younger. I've got some early 20-somethings. I've got them going heavier on TikTok because they like it. They're on it. They think Facebook's lame. And so, you know what I mean? I'm already at that. I'm like, it's weird. I'm in that transition where I'm like, is what I like lame? And so I don't fight it, like make them like force them into something that they don't want to do, when number one, TikTok has a lot of reach. And number two, it's where all their friends are. It's what they're doing. So just kind of leaning into what you like. So I think, you know, there's so much noise too. Like you should be on TikTok, you should be on YouTube, Just pick one and try something. Like I promise you, you'll be terrified when you get in front of the camera, but like nothing bad is going to happen. No one's going to hurt you. Nothing. It'll just come and go. Now you will get like my friends make fun of almost every video I do, but to me they wouldn't be like those wouldn't be my friends, you know, if they weren't making fun of me all the time. So, yeah, that's it. Those are the big three that I'm on right now. So.
I have another.
Yeah. No, this is great. Thank you.
So something that I've struggled with over the years with social media is just separating personal and professional. How much do I? Because at one point I had a business Facebook page, and now I don't. So I'm mixing personal and business. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. So the way I've kind of done it is like Facebook, I want to be like 80% personal, 20% professional. I mean, this isn't exact, obviously.
No.
LinkedIn is more professional with a little bit of personal. And I've kind of also heard from previous trainings I've had is LinkedIn is more like I'm going to a chamber event. Yeah. And then Facebook's like a barbecue. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of want,
no, that's fair.
And do you keep your personal and professional separate? Do you entertain them? I mean, how do you navigate that?
I would say two things. Number one is I don't, because I just think like the world has changed. Like I think there used to be a separation because when you went home, no one could see you. No one knew what you were doing. They didn't know where you lived or what you did. Where like now everybody kind of knows. So kind of being the authentic thing, it's like, I think you just need to talk about what you like and know, and I wouldn't overthink it unless like I don't post a ton of pictures of my kids. Usually if I do, it's like from behind, like we'll be out somewhere and I'm just showing, hey, we're at the botanical gardens. And I just don't do a lot of kid posts. So that's the thing is like, you don't have to post anything you don't want to do. I personally don't worry about the separation because I think number one, business pages get no reach without being paid. Like to me, they're there to kind of run ads. And number two, I just think that the world has become where we're kind of all of it at once. I do agree though, going back to like driving the different type of vehicles, I do think there are different mindsets when people are on there. I think LinkedIn is a good example. That's actually something we haven't touched on. LinkedIn also has a lot of organic reach because they used to be a recruiting platform. My wife was a recruiter in Florida, and they would just comb LinkedIn for applications. Like that was all it was for. Well, they changed into a social media app that was more traditional. So there was nobody posting. Like 3 years ago, the organic reach was crazy because nobody was posting and there was all these eyeballs on it. And there still is, there's way more people consuming than posting. Like if you're there and you're gonna talk about, you know, anything work related, that's a great place to do it because people are kind of going there with like the business mindset. You know, Instagram is like a club, you know, that's more like there's way less clothing on there. It's crazy. You know, there's just all kinds of shenanigans going on there. You can be a little more silly. Like I'll share memes and stuff like that on there that are a little more like edgy, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying I'm doing it perfect. I want to make sure that I'm making that clear, but I think that's the mindset. Like if you go to Instagram, you want to be entertained. And a lot of times if you go to LinkedIn, you're like trying to learn something, you're trying to connect with an associate, like something like that. So I think like using the platform the way they're intended is important, but I personally don't put any pressure on myself for separating. Just don't talk about what you don't want to talk about. You know, like there's some people that post their kids every day. There's some people that never do it. I mean, I use that as the example, or like, you know, not wanting to post your house because you don't want people to know where you live. Don't post your house, you know, or you know, or you don't want to post where you're at because, you know, for safety concerns, then don't post where you're at. You know, you can wait until you've left and then post that. You can take a video, leave, and then post that last one. So no one ever knows. So I think that's part of it is like where like people put a lot of pressure on themselves to do something they don't want to do. And my answer is you don't have to do that. You can still be extremely effective and not do the thing you don't want to do. So anybody else?
I have one other.
Yeah, no, this is good. I like it. I would prefer this instead of.
I really do like social media.
Good.
And so, and I've gotten a lot more good out of it than bad, and I don't think that I hate it, but. So when you connect with someone in person, like do you have a strategy, and that's kind of a strong word.
Yeah.
But like, do you then try to connect with them on all your social platforms, or how do you navigate that?
I don't have like a set, like I'm just gonna get them across the board. I definitely at least do one sometimes, because I'm most active on Instagram and Facebook, so usually I try to get them on at least one. It really depends. If I can get a follow, that would be great. Facebook, they can see, but I have to see them. So I look first to see, like, is this even something I want to see every day? So sometimes if someone requests me, I'll look through what they've been posting. And if it's not something I want to see, I'll accept the friend request and then I'll immediately unfollow. So because what's happening right now is a lot of people are jumping in the game because it's undeniable. You have to be on social media if you want to be marketing. And so way more people are jumping in and they're just there to have me see what they want. And I don't want that selfish relationship. So that's how I'll handle that. But yeah, I connect with people on whatever platform. I don't think, and eventually they'll kind of get on all, like I had one, it was a new client. She followed me on Instagram. I followed her back. I did a short update because on Instagram, the videos have to be shorter. And I was like, hey, I did a full market update on Facebook if you want to see the full thing. So it was like 5 minutes. And she saw that, went over to Facebook, friended me, and then liked the video. So I know that sent her there. So I think it kind of happens organically, but I don't think there's a right or a wrong. Like, I think I used to be hesitant about Facebook or anything connecting with someone because it felt weird. Like, I don't even know you, and but now I'm like way past that. Like, if I meet someone, I'm following them. Because that's how you figure out, like, is this a friend? Is this a potential business associate? Like, you don't know if you keep that buffer. So I just say request as many people as you can. Because as long as you're backing it up with what we talked about, being authentic and being consistent, like, you'll just start attracting friends and connections. So.
Do you pay Google to boost your YouTube?
Yeah, I just started, and that has been a massive home run. So I just started doing that this new year. When was that, Caddy? Like probably December. I think it was December-ish. Sorry to put you on the spot there. That's Caddy, everybody. That's my videographer. Sorry, I should have introduced you earlier. So I think December I started. I kind of shifted my money away from Facebook to Instagram or YouTube. And yeah, I do, and I get massive. I added 500 subscribers in about 2.5 months. I went from like 30 or probably less. I had very few subscribers, and then all of a sudden it just exploded. Because kind of the same thing, it was pushing it out there to people. So if they Googled something, my video would be there. So like if you Googled like the mayor, I have a podcast with him. I have the state of the city. I have Tom Didier and Jason. I have 5 videos about mayor topics. So I do that, and then people start subscribing from there. So that's like a new thing, and I'm loving it so far. I wish I'd done it sooner, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
So we're trying to figure out how often should we post. Like our business is obviously, we're attached to it 7 days a week, but we're only open 5 days a week. Should we post 3 times a week, 1 time a day,
Yeah.
once a week, or 5 times a week?
Yeah. So I follow Gary Vee's advice on this as many times as you possibly can. And people right away when I say that, people think, well, I don't want to do it too much. That's like the default that everyone says to me. And I used to be the same way. But the truth is that, number one, not everyone's going to see your posts anyways. So that's, what I mean? That's a very important starting point where they're not even all going to see. If you do 3 in one day, someone might see 1. The second thing is that people are busy. And so even though I'm getting good engagement and people like my content for the most part, sometimes they just scroll right on past. In the same way that whatever you like to follow on there, you don't look at every single solitary post they've ever done. So the more you can do, the better. As long as you're saying, how can I be informative? How can I be entertaining? Or what, what I mean? Whatever. And I think if you do that, eventually you'll just start attracting attention, but there's not too much. The only thing there's too much of is solicitation. Even this is kind of like questionable, but like sharing, like people there's people that'll request me and I'll look at their feed and they'll share like 11 of other people's posts a day. That's not doing a lot for me, like personally, so I don't want to see that content. Some people enjoy it. So again, be yourself if that's what you like to do. But I think as many times as possible. Now the key is, this is where like once this is getting this is more like advanced, but like with this video, if I'm smart about this, I should be able to get at least 5 or 6 posts out of this, because we can do reels, like short version reels on Instagram. We can do the full version on YouTube, and then I can chop up segments based on like what you just said, I can make this into a segment. Can you post too much on social media? That's a nice little 3-minute clip, depending on how long I talk right now. And then people might actually watch that one. They might not watch a 45-minute video, but they might watch a 3-minute video about so that's where like once you start getting into the content, then you get better. So I think sometimes people want to be experts. And so they'll like, they try to, I always joke, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. Don't try to think of like what I'm doing right now. And when it took me years to get to this point, and I think I'm still pretty primitive in the scheme of like what's out there. So I think the key is to just post as much as you can, just as much as you can. And then you can get into like scheduling it. You know, what I do is with the team is we time block, because it's really easy to get, you get rolling, problems start rolling in. Any entrepreneur knows like your job is to put out fires all day long. So if you're not, that's why we do our calls at 8 to 10, because most people aren't up and at them yet. So we can get our calls out of the way before clients start. And then I have a time throughout the day where I'll try to get a post up and post it. And then if you're documenting, the content is like endless.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that's where it gets like next level, where you have easy to do content that doesn't take any time to curate or very little time to curate. And you're building trust because you're talking about what you know, and you're staying consistent because you're doing it every day. That's when things get really interesting. And then from there, you kind of figure out what you like. Like I have learned that I don't like TikTok. I know I need to be on there. I don't enjoy it. I love making YouTube videos. It's like, we're going to go do a video shoot when we're done here. And so I do more of them, and I am knowingly leaving some opportunity on the table, but at least I'm consistent, and I'm doing something that I enjoy. So I think like getting started is the key, and then don't put so much pressure on yourself to be all this stuff. Like the only pressure you should put on yourself is, I'm going to talk to the camera today. Or even if you don't like talking to the camera, there's different ways you can do audio. So that's actually an important topic. So you can do audio where you can, there's tons of free apps where you can just record yourself. Boom, you got a podcast. And you can do written word. It's really big on LinkedIn. Like you were talking about, written word is really big on LinkedIn. So blogs, pictures with captions. That's another miss, is people throw up a picture and they'll do like 1-line caption. Something I've been pushing myself and the team to do better is like long copy, like explaining what's going on in the picture or whatever message you want to get. Because people might not stop and watch a video, but they'll read. An example of that is Michael on my team. He does a Northwest Allen market update every Wednesday, but he would do no copy. So like the wording on it. And I wasn't watching it. And I was like, why don't you try like talking about what's in it? Well, the next week he did it and I read it. I wasn't thinking it for him. I just did it and I read it and I was like, oh, cool. I saw they're building a, whatever downtown or whatever. And he was like, you watched it? And I was like, actually, no. I was like, I read your copy. And so I went home and told my wife, I go, hey, we had a cool thing at work today. Michael, implemented, and it actually worked on me. And she's like, you mean the new building downtown? I'm like, you read it too? And so that was a really cool like aha, where it was like, all right, we need to get better at like writing the copy. So audio, written word, pictures with copy, and then video. So like, pick if you just straight up are never going to do video, try something else, but I think if I was starting with that, I would ask like, why am I not posting video? Like, am I concerned about how I look on camera? Am I afraid that my friends are going to make fun of me? That's a big one, especially with older people, is like that the older generation that didn't grow up with social media, they're afraid to post because their friends are all going to make fun of them. And so they don't want to look silly, And so like, are you like, what's having a really candid conversation with what are you afraid of? And I tell people all the time, like I had someone on my team and we did all these videos and she wouldn't post them. I'm like, we kind of put a lot of time on that. Like, can you post them? And she was like, I don't like the way I look. And I was like, everyone knows what you look like. Like we're all your friend. You know what I mean? Like we like you, And so I think like we get so caught up in our own, and I'm guilty of this too. I mean, I had a tripod for 3 years before I made a video. So I want to be very clear about that. But because I just felt weird. I felt awkward. I didn't like it. And so, but once I started doing it and you get past that hurdle, you realize like there's really nothing bad that can happen as long as you're being yourself. And I know that sometimes like I like to make like, I'm kind of like witty and I like to make fun of people. And there's been times where I've offended people on social media where they misunderstood what I was saying, especially because I make fun of the team a lot, especially Michael. I give him a really hard time. And early on, there's people that he would come to me and go, hey, people think you're kind of like mean to me. You think maybe, yeah. And I was like, no. I'm like, I like making fun of you. And him and I have a great relationship, so that's really important. But my point is, like, sometimes things aren't going to land. You know, anytime I caught wind of that, I would try to clear it up if it was at someone specific. And if not, then I'm just like, I got to be me. I can't get too caught up in like trying to not, like, in an effort to not offend one person, you can't leave all this opportunity on the table. So I think that's what comes back. Like, if you notice, I just keep repeating, like, being authentic and being consistent in the same way that you're talking to anyone, anywhere, you know? So.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So
Thanks.
I've taken a lot of notes. I look around and everybody seems to be taking
Good.
notes. So hopefully it hit you all and you got some answers.
Yeah. The key is to just take action. Like, you can think about it for the rest of your life, but until you like post that first video, just do it. And if you want, start in stories. Does anyone not know what stories are for Facebook or Instagram? Okay, so just in case you didn't want to raise your hand, the story is like the little bubble up top. It only lasts for 24 hours. So you can record a video in there and post it, and no matter how bad it is, it's gone forever in 24 hours. And so I think that's you can even you can record it. Here, I'm gonna do an example. So you can go into stories and pull this out. You can click hands-free. I'm just gonna do one right now. I'm gonna show you an example. Hey, we're here at the HBA luncheon. I am doing an example of a story on Instagram and how easy it is to make. Say hi, everybody. See? You know, it's that easy. So, and then you can do captions in case people don't want to listen, which most people don't. And so it automatically generates captions, and then they can read what you said. So I would say start with a story. Like, if you're horrified to get in front of the camera, I've been there. Just do it just one time. Even if you're like, I'm doing this because I went to a talk today and I feel inspired, I feel super awkward right now. But I hope that, I would love to connect with someone or whatever. And that can be it. Or you can just say, I feel awkward, but I promised myself I was going to make a video today. I think that'll resonate with someone who's been on the fence and they're like, God, I've always wanted to. I can't believe she did it. That type of thing where like that could be the thing that gets you attention that day because you were honest about how nervous you were.
Plus you get it out of the way.
Yeah, then you get it out of the way, and so that's a good thing. So I think just taking action, and then you'll learn the strategies. Like, I didn't just wake up one day and know all this stuff. I've just, continually been putting the time in and got there. So
Was the stories the thing that goes on Instagram?
it's on Instagram and Facebook. It's the little bubbles at the top up here. So it's they're really like you click on it, and then I think there's like a plus sign. If you click your own bubble and then click it, it'll like say video, and you can just Google like, how do I do a story? That's the key. Like, a lot of this stuff I Google and YouTube, and they'll have like, click this, and then that, and it'll be over. That's why I didn't get too much into X's and O's today, because I feel like that stuff is like way easier to find. You can Google that. The bigger picture stuff that we talked about like the how and the why, I think is more important. Well, I could keep going for hours. So if there's anything else. All right, well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.